evening, everybody. I'm gonna do a quick sound check and video check. If you can see me and hear me, give me a thumbs up. With that said, we're gonna actually get things started because I understand that this is one of those subjects that so many people are very, very curious about. And I know I certainly got super inspired. And in a way, without creative financing, I would not have been able to build the portfolio and the financial freedom and the financial results that I have today. And so I'm super, super happy to be joined by none other than our very own strategy trainer, Brooke Shang, and mentor on this particular session tonight. And we have quite a few things coming your way too. And as many of you are aware, we actually do have a whole webinar series happening between September and October. I will share with you in the next few slides so that you get a better idea in terms of when they're happening. At the same time, I understand many of you, even now, you're not watching this real time because you may have work, something else may have happened, or that's just the nature of your routine. So you might be watching this once it's put on our YouTube channel. So we will let you know when that is another option as well, in case some of the upcoming sessions you aren't actually able to attend real time in person. With that said, though, always want to put out a little disclaimers here. A lot of this legalese, I'm not a lawyer. All this really means is that at Trust Your Talent, and for me and Brooke tonight, what we are, first and foremost, is kind of defined by what we're not. First, we're not financial planners, not here to sell you on insurance or any financial planning instrument, not accountants, not tax advisors, not lawyers, etc. However, what we really are, though, are professional and educated investors who have been leveraging real estate and other asset classes to build our income streams and wealth over quite some time now, and we've declared financial freedom ourselves. And really that echoes the mission statement of Trust Your Talent Academy and what we really want to create, especially when it comes to real estate investing. We always say that it has nothing to do with the number of doors in your portfolio or asset under management amount, because if you're still financially stressed, what is the point? So our first and foremost goal is to always help everybody achieve their individual financial goals where they can declare financial independence and or financial freedom. And so what that really means is we are here to share with you our journeys and experiences and on some level expertise on how we have learned to really build a business leveraging real estate investing from working with other people's knowledge, other people's time, other people's experiences, other people's expertise. And the last part is really what we're focusing on tonight, which is other people's money, okay? As you probably saw in some of the marketing materials that we put out there, this is what I've always said. Money should be your least limiting factor once you become an educated investor. Why? Because as an educated investor, you understand how to conduct proper due diligence when you're looking at an opportunity to determine whether or not it's a viable deal to pursue. And what is a viable deal? A viable deal is always an asset. And what defines an asset is something that actually creates income on a regular, if not monthly basis. That is the most important definition of asset that we focus on at Trust Your Talent. It is not a pie in the sky concept once you understand how to approach real estate investing and using it effectively and efficiently to build your financial goal and results. With that said, we always believe that not having any sort of licenses is oftentimes the most powerful position to be in the real estate investing industry. And just want to give everybody a heads up also, if you're a little shy, you do have the permission to turn off your camera. However, again, for the most part, when we are publishing the recording, you are not going to be showing up automatically as long as you're not unmuting yourself to ask questions. You can ask questions in the chat box because this video is recorded and may be used for marketing purposes. With that said, as we promised just now, here are the 5 major events. The 5 major events that you can find on Eventbrite I'm hoping this is how you kind of found this, or maybe through our own channel on Instagram and the Talented Investors group on Facebook. We are on the second of the 5 different topics of this entire series tonight, which is how to create unlimited funding for your deals. That is my typo, my bad. So Tuesday, Saturday, you can see the rhythm here. And so last Saturday, so not too long ago, we had how to purpose build your properties for a maximum profit. We focus on infill. However, the construction process and project management process is very applicable regardless of how big and how small your project may be. And tonight we're going into essentially what we call creative financing. This coming Saturday, I am going to be hosting our next webinar with one Miss Catherine Butler. She's known in the industry as the foreclosure queen in Florida. So make sure you don't miss that session. Enroll for it. All these webinars are free of charge on Eventbrite. Make sure you also follow us so you don't always have to keep searching for Trust Your Talent as well. And so the idea really is Trust Your Talent, even though we do have students and we do train across the globe, literally, the majority of our student investors are Canadians and we're Canada-based. So what that means is what we're going to focus on during that webinar is how to invest in US foreclosures remotely and effectively. Because what's been happening, again, for Canadians is if you know the rules, there are no such thing as a true foreclosure opportunity in real estate in the Canadian markets. And this is why a lot of Canadian investors, especially in real estate, we always dream of going down south of the border to get some of those pennies on the dollar opportunities. And this is something that we're doing. And to give you a bit of a heads up, if this is a topic and a skill and a strategy that you want to utilize, make sure you pay extra attention on how you can attend our annual conference at the end of October in Vancouver. We're going to spend 3 days live to go into how to invest in US foreclosures remotely and effectively as foreign investors. And the next one is how to make money in any economy, especially through real estate. Whoops, touch a button that I should not have. How to make money in any economy. I think it goes without saying that every single person needs to be on that webinar, because with everything that's been happening, I know that it seemed like very good news that the rates did not go up this past week. At the same time, though, we are still in the last 11 years at an all-time high rate environment. And there's a lot of other factors that also played into it as well, between inflation, cost of living, and everything as a result. Many of us are looking to get ahead. Okay, so make sure you register for that session. Last but not least, how to maximize cash flow with short and mid-term rentals. And at Trust Your Talent, we actually do have a course called Serviced Accommodations. And this is the main reason why it is not called Airbnb or Vrbo, is because those are what we call marketing platforms. The true strategies for educated investors would be short-term and mid-term rentals. And then through those two main umbrellas, you actually get to learn how to further break it down into, for example, executive rentals, student rentals, rooming houses, as well as vacation rentals. And we're going to be coming to you with all these 4 upcoming webinars. So make sure you get yourself registered for them. With that said, though, let's put the spotlight back to some of you. Again, welcome for the very first time. If this is your first encounter with Trust Your Talent Academy and you're kind of wondering, okay, well, I was interested in the topic. However, what are you guys about? What gives you the authority to teach what you teach and to share what you're sharing? As I mentioned earlier, the majority of Trust Your Talent Academy is based in Canada. However, we are North America wide and our student body is international at this point. What this really means is that our training curriculum and investing programs, both in real estate, paper assets, commodities, and other asset classes, are built with the average North American looking to get ahead in mind. And so what we really want to do, as I mentioned earlier, is that our mission statement is to create financial independence one person at a time. And so this goes back to a lot of our personal stories. Take the time to meet the team, and you'll get to hear a lot about our stories, and maybe one of our stories will resonate with you. Whether you've been a stay-at-home mom for a long time, you're working a corporate job, you're a young family, you're a single person, you're a single parent, whatever the case may be, you are looking to make a difference in your life. This is why we started Treasure Talent Academy in the first place. We focus on what we call total wellness, and that is actually broken down into 5 different aspects. We have financial wellness, which is what we are actually sharing with you today. Part of the financial wellness curriculum is investing and real estate investing. We also have and will create programs that will also take care of physical wellness, emotional, mental, and spiritual wellness as well. And so with that said, though, coming back to financial wellness, we have the largest financial education programs and training team in North America right now. So there to compare, take a look. We are training you how to build a business and how to build systems so that money can be working harder for you. And so what this really means is it's really a one-stop shop for you to make sure that you get the financial education that you need so that you have the skill set and the mindset to evaluate, as I mentioned earlier, any potential money-making opportunities that's coming your way, even the most clever marketing will not be able to fool you once you're equipped with the proper tools and skill set. And this is also why I'm super passionate about what we do, simply because of my personal story. Some of you already know this. However, when I first started getting financially educated, it wasn't because I was so enlightened and I was so driven. It was simply because prior to that, I literally lost every last penny of my hard-earned dollars in a real estate investing deal that I thought was solid. And then I quickly learned that when you know what you're investing in and when you understand the asset class well, you can make money. However, when you don't know what you don't know, you can lose money very fast. I was working 80 hours a week in a corporate job with 2 cell phones under my pillow, and I lost every last penny of my savings. And that's really what scared the bejesus out of me and into taking financial education. I'm really hoping that all of you in this room tonight is a lot more enlightened than I was. That's why you are here, okay? And so on that note, we do have the most bespoke curriculum in the marketplace today. What that really means is the fact that you're not going to go to another academy. There really isn't one out there that's as tailored as what we do, because everybody's financial education journey and the path to financial success is different. How is it different? From the starting point, from day one, we come from different cultural backgrounds, different ages, different life skills right now, different professional skills, different financial resources or access to financial resources, and also different risk tolerance level. All these factors come into play. It should have never been one size fits all. And this is what also Treasure Talent Academy is out here to create and do, is to fight against the people that say, just join the syndication, just join 100 other people and buy a 200-unit apartment building and you're going to be set for life. Again, if you don't know what you're doing, that's probably one of the most dangerous things that you can possibly do for yourself. And so this is why you'll get a lot of one-on-one support along your journey, and all the coaches, trainers, and mentors walk the walk. What that means is you're not going to have a coach or a trainer or a mentor that is not an active business person, business owner, real estate investor from Treasure Talent, meaning you're not getting outdated secondhand information at any given point. And so that's really, really important, because we know what's out there and we want to create something different. And we also believe that for all of us to fundamentally shift our financial trajectory for the rest of our lives, it is not a weekend thing. It's not just a simple webinar. I wish we were that good, to be honest. However, there are full immersion programs that many of you will choose to embark on for 1 or 2 years after this. I'll share with you and show you how you can get that process started if this is something that you're curious about. And last but not least, which is probably one of the most important point about Trust Your Talent Academy, is that we are 100% education only. What does that mean? It means that this is not a multi-level marketing type of situation. This is also not one of those situations where we teach you just enough so that we can sell you our deals. The entire philosophy of our training curriculum is you teach a man how to fish, he can feed himself for life. It's not about giving you a fish. So again, this is not to, have a big head or anything. Nobody on the training team needs your money. We've all made it. We've all learned how to create it, starting with tonight's topic. And what that means is your education and your training journey is going to be completely unbiased. And that's huge when it comes to your learning journey. And so with that said, we focus on you and helping you grow sustainable income and wealth in the long term. So coming back here, enough out of me for now. I'm going to basically share with you and bring our feature presenter on tonight is how you can let money be the least. Oh my goodness, I need somebody to double check my typos these days. Let money be your least limiting factor when you are an investor of any kind. And these are 6 questions that we got prior to this session. And so I know Brooke has got something prepared to answer most of these already. We can come back and revisit some of these. And again, as I mentioned, once we are done with the feature presentation, we will open up the floor and have an open Q&A with everybody. On that note, I'm going to stop sharing so Brooke can actually bring her screen up and continue with everybody.
Thank you guys, and thank you for being here with us on a Tuesday, start of the week. I see a lot of familiar faces and at the same time, a lot of new students. So I'm really excited to share my favorite topic, money. So Creative Financing 1. If you haven't taken Creative Financing Fundamental, it's going to start on the 20th of this month. So I'll give you a brief introduction of what this course is about. Really, it is about how to sort out your goals and let it be your least limiting factor at the same time. I get that it could be overwhelming. I just want to know, even if you're already in the community, you'll feel that it's overwhelming, that there's so many strategies, so many opportunities, not deals yet. You have to know how to create those. Thank you for the honesty. Thank you, Jonathan. And it's always a learning process. Why is it so important? Because a lot of the times we come to the learning community because we feel that it's overwhelming. So perhaps you feel the financial burden, and it's not just physically draining, sometimes having to work, even mentally. So what do? You just take on everything, and it could look like a big mess. When you see there's so many opportunities and it looks like everybody's into investing, how do I know where to start? How do I know how to sort out my finances? I'm sure you have your goals, you have your ambitions, whatever it is. Like Tim said, we're in different stages of our lives. So I'm at a stage, my kid is out of the house in university just this semester. And at the same time, you're probably still working really hard. I get that you're young. However, sometimes you could still feel that it's draining. So with the system, again, it might not be the same for everybody. That's why we design the curriculum the way we do. So one of my goals is to sort your finances out for you. It's not supposed to be a limiting factor if you know what could be out there. So in Creative Financing Class 1, I assume that at this point, you already have some foundations. You understand basically how money works. You understand that you're looking for a viable business with cash flow. Make your money work hard for you, make your money run for you. That's when you look at return on investment. So in that case, if you understand how money works, how to sort out your finances, We're just using real estate as a vehicle. So for some of you who joined us earlier last week, you know there are different asset classes. So there could be paper asset, for example. Same thing, as long as you know how money works. My goal is to create that peace of mind for you when it comes to money. A lot of people are actually afraid of talking about money. When I grew up, we don't talk about how much money we make. We don't talk about money at all. And a lot of limiting beliefs. And this is how I look at the curriculum. If you're already in the community, or if you have taken creative financing fundamentals, you know that there's cash, there's credit card, there are mortgages. However, there would come to a point, that's actually one of the things I've heard a lot, that I cannot qualify for a mortgage anymore. I don't have enough resources anymore. What should I do? And take it to the next level. There's short-term, there's mid-term, there's long-term resources available to you, depending on where your goals are. And at Trust Your Talent, we mentioned that you should have 3 strategies that you could be focusing on and 3 different markets. And personally, I started with my short-term, mid-term, long-term goals. When you reach a point, perhaps you're financially free, perhaps at some point in your life, you happen to be really busy. For example, you're focusing on something else in your life. You might want to be more passive. And if you're at my age, you probably have luckily accumulated some equity or save us some RSP working in the workforce for a period of time. So besides mortgages, besides cash, there are other resources available to you. Again, the opportunity is there. Sometimes if you don't know, if you don't pay attention, you're not aware that it is out there. This is a general rule, not a firm rule. For example, usually private lending is short-term. Sometimes you can structure it in a way that it could be slightly longer terms, midterm, for example. And I mentioned that RSP in most cases, it could be long-term investment. And in some cases, it could be midterm lending as well. However, in general, private lending is short-term, less than a year, or when you focus on deals like flips or wholesale. This could be a very, very useful tool. In terms of midterm, usually joint venture is a partnership. And once you take the class, you understand that we mentioned it's like a marriage. You're in a contract, and even marriage might not last as long as a joint venture these days. However, the point is, there's an exit, and usually joint venture, depending on the deal. Could be a 3-year, could be a 5-year joint venture. So I call it a midterm tool in that case. Reason being, perhaps it's depending on the lease option terms. Perhaps it's a mortgage renewal terms, etc. So even though we talk about these 3 tools, remember that we're using different tools in your toolbox, including what you've learned in the past. For example, cash. For example, mortgages. Tim, you muted yourself, so I do want to hear what you have to add at the same time.
I was gonna wait till you finish the entire slide. However, again, like what Brooke is saying, really, I mean, this is really the way that we've all learned it, and this is really just to create a baseline. However, again, I mean, to do joint ventures, a lot of the people, they will actually opt for the joint venture structure for flips and wholesale. And the reason behind all of this is because, once again, like I said earlier, everybody's situation is a little different. And also, when you guys go into business fundamentals and you learn about asset and income protection, that will also largely dictate the lending structure that you might prefer for certain strategies and even certain markets.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of the times it really depends. So Tim, you actually reminded me of something. I've talked to a joint venture partner, and usually it depends on a personal situation. For example, I focus on lease option for a period of time, and it's usually a 2 to 4 year term. So we focus on 4 years. However, one of my joint venture partner has some health issues. So he's thinking, perhaps I don't want to do long-term or even midterm strategies anymore. I want to focus on short-term and make my money back in a shorter period of time. And to be honest, we can really be flexible. And these are just tools out there. Sometimes you're on title. Some people are not comfortable being on title. That's why some of my partners prefer lending. And some people prefer to be on title. For sure, they could be a joint venture partner and take on the mortgage. So my point is you could be really flexible. And I would say for some people like me, or if you have a little bit more life experience and you're already in the workforce and saved up some RRSP, you want to be more passive. Or you're crazy energetic, you're young. I can see some of you look really young on the screen. You want to be out there. You want to look for flips. You want to get your money back quickly and have a lot of wholesale deals. So really it's really personal depending on where you are in your life. So in the upcoming creative financing class, this is what I'm going to be focusing on. I do want to remind you that I assume you have some foundation in terms of mortgages, in terms of cash, in terms of credit cards, or even line of credits. And we're going to use all these different tools with case studies. So you might be able to create something that could be beneficial to all your joint venture partners. It really also depends on who you're working with at the same time. So before I get on the next slide, Tim, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny because, like I said, this is how we all learned it. And so we kind of see this as a formula. And really, once you've done a few deals and you start to figure out how you do business and some of the business decisions that we all make differently as individual investors, you will start to mix and match a lot of different things. And for example, a quick background is many of you, if not all of you at this point, know that my baby strategy is lease options. And so lease options, as Brooke said, usually are 2 to 4 year long deals. And so for some people, that's a really long time, actually, even though really as an investor, that's a short term deal, or maybe mid, really. At the same time, though, what was happening was that while I was facilitating a lot of lease option deals through joint venture partnerships, I was actually inducting new potential capital and money investors into my investors pipeline. And because these relationships, a lot of times they do take time to build, because again, we're not like banks, we're not registered with a security, so that we're not actually allowed to advertise rate of returns or any sort of projected numbers, as hopefully you are aware. And if not, you just learned something new to protect yourself tonight, is the fact that I was finding deals and through existing joint venture partners, because now they're actually telling some of their friends and families and maybe even colleagues about what they're doing with me. And they say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I've only been working with Tim for about a year, but he's doing a good job. We're getting additional cash flow every single month for our investment deal. He seems solid. The business makes sense. Just have a chat with him. And so a lot of people, just because this is not a first degree relationship anymore, I had to warm them up over time. And so once I, had a few more coffee chats, they've heard some more testimonials and more references, then they go, okay, sure. However, you're still kind of like a semi-stranger, like a weird uncle that I would talk to once in a while at a kid's birthday party kind of thing. How about, I don't want to jump in and get a mortgage qualification for 2 to 4 years. I got about $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 sitting in my bank account doing nothing. Or better yet, it's sitting in a TFSA, making me 1.5%. These days, if you noticed, yeah, probably about 5.2 right now for the first 3 months in an e-savings account. But right after that, it goes straight back to about 2.2, okay? So these are the people that started to go, okay, if my money is secured, which is what Brooke will teach everybody during creative financing, I'm willing to test it out. I'm going to lend you my money for maybe 6 months, maybe for a year right now. And once they get used to collecting a cash flow, or once they get used to working with you for the first round, then the next deal typically is that they go, okay, well, you've already been playing with my $100,000. I don't like that word, but they use that word a lot. You've been playing with my $100,000 a lot. I'm not gambling, These are backed by hard asset investments, but that's their perspective. You've been managing my $100,000 and we've developed a good working relationship. Our communication style seems to work, and I'm ready to go into a longer term deal. So that's the thing. It's all based on, as what Brooke we'll touch on again is that whole know, like, and trust process too, whenever you are looking for other people's money to work with. The whole point is though, is that private lending can also be RSP money, not just cash. And so really going back to how I got started is simply the fact that once you've done a few deals, you see that this is not exactly a formula that you have to stick to. You can start to get a little creative to make things work to everybody's advantage at that point.
And Tim, speaking of investors, one of the things I found is that sometimes you do have to educate the investor at the same time, because they start to see what you're doing. They get really interested. We can do the heavy lifting, bring them to the workshop, and we have so many free webinars as well. That's one of the ways I would do it at the same time. So be open to whatever people's situations are. I found that when you're building up your relationship with potential investors, maybe this wouldn't work. For example, if you focus on lease option. However, as you learn about more strategies, perhaps one day, like Tim said, somebody had $30,000, and you can start to open opportunities for different people. So say, for example, you start to learn about flips or wholesales. So we call it distressed properties. And then there are opportunities that came up, you can start to see in your pipeline. Same thing as what we are doing with you. What are their goals? What's your short-term, mid-term, long-term goals? And I'll tell you something interesting. When I started focus on lease option, I thought 3 years was a long time. And as I start to invest, all of a sudden, all the lease option deals are closing. And then I realized, okay, I have to start to see what other options are. I want to have long-term. I do want to have some short-term strategies as well. And for example, if I'm needing a huge lump sum of cash, so we mentioned that you buy and sell to create capital, then you buy and hold to create wealth. So if you're in the stage that you desperately needing to create capital, then perhaps short-term strategies, perhaps private lending, etc. And I'll give you a reason why a lot of the times that private lending is short-term, because the cost is higher. So usually people use it for a short period of time. In the bigger picture, it really doesn't matter how much it costs. It's really how much it makes you. So that's why for private lending, or for example, bridge mortgage or bridge lending, people are going to replace their funds with, say, mortgages, for example. So again, there are different situations. We're giving you examples in this short webinar as to what you can consider. And these are the examples and situations we have encountered. So now we have also collected a few examples of what the students did. I will also slightly change the examples and case studies, so you'll have an opportunity to actually negotiate and see how you can actually make the deal better. So I'll mention how different strategy works or different lending tools work. Again, you see so many opportunities out there, like my last slide. I want to show that it could seem overwhelming at times. However, you have the tools. So I love the fact that education is really about making complicated things seem easy. So that is my goal, because a lot of the times people are scared of investing because it seems pretty difficult and pretty complicated. And what we're going to cover in the class, before we answer all the questions, I realize we do have questions, and we'll touch upon those questions and why we structure the class the way we did. There's a lot to cover in creative financing, and I think that is why we structure the classes the way we do. So when you come to, say, for example, the fundamentals, we start to get you into the journey of an investor. So say, for example, everybody's familiar with cash, with line of credit, or even credit cards. However, once you get into the real estate investing journey, you're going to be an educated investor and know what different resources are out there. And this is really about sharing the wealth or how to scale. So if you know there are more opportunities or tools out there, you know what different strategies or tools that you could utilize. And we kept saying real estate is a vehicle that we use to create wealth. It's not about just buying and selling properties. So module 1, coming from institutional lending resources in the fundamentals, we're going to get into hard money lending, what you should be looking for as a lender, and when you should borrow. And one of the things we always talk about is only borrow money when you can make money. Or, for example, it's tax deductible. So you know that expense is business expense. And how to structure a hard money lending deal. Something about the market today. A lot of people are saying it's risky, it's different. And I will also use some current example to show you how to do it right. And when people panic, that's when you start to see opportunities and how things could be done better, ethically and legally. So module 1, hard money lending. And module 2 is about registered funds. So RSP in general. However, it doesn't just include RSP, it could be RESP, TSFA, etc. And what you can invest in with registered funds. And I think a lot of people have RSP. So a lot of the questions I get is regarding RSP, how to do it, how to find the opportunity. Why didn't we hear about it? Why do we only invest in mutual funds? And there's a lot of reasons why you should look into RSP investing using real estate as a vehicle. Again, case studies, and I'll also show you how to make your money run faster. A lot of it also related to tax planning as well. So we'll also touch upon that when we get through this section. And module 3, surprisingly, when we talk about joint venture, there's so many discussions and a lot of different ways of structuring joint venture agreements. At the same time, like we mentioned earlier, it really depends on the situations of the deal creator and who your investors are and what type of deals, what type of strategy, etc. How to evaluate partnership. You don't just get into a deal for the sake of getting into a deal. Evaluate if you can create a win-win situation for all the parties involved. So again, we treat it as a business. How to scale, how to share the wealth, how really to take into consideration what everybody's goals are. And some people think it's a zero-sum game. It's not always the case. And I'll show you in a lot of examples, you can create a win-win. Like I mentioned earlier, if the investor's situation change, then utilize your funds in a different way. Some people don't want to be on title. Some people love to be on title. Some people want to be really passive. Some people even want to learn from you. I'll tell you in the beginning, I do have a little bit of funds to start, and at the same time, I'm actively investing. And one of my goals is to learn. So I look at my joint venture partners. I look at if there's something I can learn from them at the same time. To me, that's a win for me as well. And some investors are just like, let me just sit back. Brooke, take care of everything. And let me just make my money work hard for me. Tim?
That's funny. Yeah, you know what? In the beginning, just because, I did still have my corporate job. I literally was just over broke for quite some time there. However, when I first got started, as I was going through the training myself, I think I've shared this lots of times before. I was actually the money partner because I had a T4 income, I had a job, so I could qualify for mortgages. And so going to the courses that I was doing, I was able to meet a lot of other people too. And even though we were taking the same courses, it was great, but I think I was still time poor initially. And my mindset and skill set wasn't quite there yet. And so what I did was I basically partner up with other people that were more experienced than me, and I could actually learn from them a lot faster as well. And so that's really how I got started too. I mean, there's no right or wrong way to approach this journey. Everybody, again, we just said it's not one size fits all. Everybody's going to be a little different. But it's just when you were saying that, it kind of reminded me of, oh yeah, sometimes I forgot that, because I always thought that, oh wow, I was so broke when I first got started. But then I realized I had a job, soul sucking, by the way, but it allowed me to carry a couple of mortgages in the beginning and really partner up. And the good thing that I really learned from that was it was a lot easier, and the trust factor was a lot higher for me because we were all trained the same way, and most of the times we share very similar values. And so from a skill set perspective, and every time somebody presented a deal to me, it was very easy to do the due diligence. So it gave me the confidence to say, okay, I'll back this deal and I'll work on this deal with you and we can go 50-50. So.
And also, we speak the same language when it comes to investing. So
Mhm.
it makes it a lot easier as a joint venture partner to work with somebody in the community at the same time. And even if you're just new, you can also speak to other investors because you're in the community, because words travel fast. You
Yeah.
can also check on how other people are doing, what their experiences are.
Yeah. And you know what, actually, I want to share this because this is actually a very fresh experience that I just had about, I think just last week, actually. Somebody that's actually not in the TYT community that I kind of met at a random conference not too long ago. They ventured out into the US and because apparently US is all the thing these days. However, other than foreclosure, I don't really see the US being, that much more attractive because if you have the financial education, you got the fundamentals down, you can find good deals in any market really. And so this person in particular, when he was presenting his deals, there was no numbers shared whatsoever. Everything just felt like buzzwords. The way he talked to me, it's like, this is very much recession proof kind of asset class. And I'm like, well, real estate is an asset class. So this is a type of property that you're presenting. And really, it's a self-storage. So it's a business. So I want to hear about how you're going to run your day-to-day business. What are the numbers? What are the projected performance? And he couldn't say anything. It was all buzzwords. In upcoming, we're projected the growth of the population to be this. So we're projecting the usage of self-storage to be this. And again, as trained investors, I think that's become one of my biggest pet peeves on how to really identify the people that are just salespeople versus true investors that want to work with you, that you feel comfortable working with.
And another thing I found being an educated investor versus some people that are just running with what they have is you get to ask intelligent questions. So, like Tim said, a lot of the times you can tell being educated investor what people are advertising, and you can quickly see how you will structure yourself. That's one thing, and also the right question to ask. And sometimes I think, again, even for us, we take the scenario, we evaluate the best case, the worst case, the regular case scenario, and even if you just give you a projection as an investor, you can kind of do that due diligence and decide, is that realistic? And you run the numbers. I'll tell you, even as a passive or as a money partner, there are times where the person that structured the deal didn't really know what to do with it. And if you can still see the opportunity, utilize different strategies, for example, wholesale, or buy the deal from somebody else and structure it right. So once you have the knowledge and the tools, there's so many different options. And personally, I'm also open to if people are willing to work together, even when it comes to power team or joint venture. If somebody present a deal, I can see that they wholeheartedly want to make this work and they're willing and open to see what we can make the deal better. I'm open to work with a power team member or with the partner or with an investor. So again, I feel like everybody pretty much encounters similar stuff. Everybody's different. We're just happen to be at different stages or different things happen during our journey.
So, I'll share one last point here because I know we can dwell on this for so long. That's why the course is going to be 3 days in length. A lot of times, we do say as investors, let the numbers do the talking first and foremost. So while that is true, before you consider going into any sort of financial joint venture partnerships, it's really, as what Brooke said, the quality of the questions that you ask will dictate the quality of the results you get. And in this case, it's the financial results, it's the relationship that you get. And that really comes, fortunately and unfortunately, with experiences and learning. So this is something that I know we're going to be diving into extensively.
And also, people can learn from our mistakes and what we've learned at the same time. And we're completely open. And also your experience at the same time. I'm sure you're starting to see opportunities out there. You're starting to evaluate the deals. And I also see students structure the deal after the class. It's all a learning opportunity. And collectively, us as a community, that could really speed up that process. So yes, unfortunately, it takes time. However, our goal is to speed it up for you. And I appreciate, Tim or other people that came before us so we can learn from their experience at the same time. Basically, we learn from each other. And I also learned, how to communicate with you guys. So like I said, sometimes it seems overwhelming and complicated, like drinking from hose. At the same time, now we're breaking it down. So there's so many interesting case studies and live examples for sure we can go through. And I can tell even from the questions you ask me, what problem you might have encountered, or you say, this is a deal. And we can tell perhaps you have to go a step back and ask deeper questions, for example.
I know, it's one of those things, you don't know what you don't know. That's what we keep saying. And I know for a fact that the last, 9 months, especially, you've had some mentees that had a few really interesting things or opportunities. I never want to call them deals until they pass our vetting process, as I always say. They had some opportunities presented to them. And, on the surface, if they didn't have you, they would have just jumped on it and didn't really think twice about it. But the reality is, had they done it, they would have been losing money, losing sleep.
So yes, it's also all lesson learned collectively from the community at the same time. That's why I love to include these quotes at the end, because Tim, you happen to touch upon that. Good deals are found. However, sometimes it's just an opportunity. It doesn't even get to the deal stage. And great deals are created. And I highlighted that because my goal is for you to have the ability to create great deals. Everybody can buy and sell, and perhaps even if you have the power team, you already could do a lot more. However, now you're an educated investor. You're going to create great deals. And like we mentioned, there's so many different strategies, and in each strategy, you might be able to utilize different tools and creative financing to do that. And the second point, Tim already mentioned that in the very beginning, money will be your least limiting factor. And if money is your limiting factor, think about the way you structure the deal, because money is supposed to follow great deals. So even though it's a deal, perhaps it's a good deal, and now you have the tools to make it a great deal. And we gave examples of if we can make $3 million, even if it takes you $500,000, for example, you'll find a way to find that money when the deal is so good that you cannot pass. So really, this is the three things I think that resonates with investors or seasoned investors. We're not gamblers, by the way. So there you go. Tim?
And so on the note, on the subject of great deals are created, I actually don't see everybody here, but I'm not sure if I've had the chance to meet everyone at Multifamily Conference back in May, just this year. And anyways, I did a presentation of one of the earlier deals that I did, actually my first deal in the US back in 2013. And it was actually, I guess it falls under the great deals or creative bucket, where I was able to create $2.4 million with 15 months worth of work in creative financing, none of my own money down. And so I up until, having to do that presentation, I didn't even think about it. I was just, going into my own case studies of the deals that I've done. And when they decided that I was going to do a slot there, and apparently a lot of people were quite challenged in a good way to see, wow, how really, what we say is true. Good deals can be found for sure. However, in order for a deal to be truly amazing and it contributes to your own financial goal, you got to learn how to create your own deals. And for the most part, that means structuring the financing terms. So I think it is posted on YouTube. I was looking for it. So let me keep looking, and I will share a link in the chat box for those of you who might be interested in watching that presentation too.
I personally watch it a couple times, just review it at the same time. Being a creative deal that I do want to personally learn from Tim's experience as well. So yes, I've watched that video a couple times. If it's a more advanced strategy for you, watch it a couple times. I did. So make sure you follow Tim and also watch the video. And I think timing is good. We can now get into Q&As. for everybody? We can start from the questions we already have.
I mean, the first question is pretty straightforward. What is creative financing? I know this is a question that I get a lot because sometimes I think we've been doing this for so long now. We've heard the same phrase for many years and we know exactly what it means. However, for many people, they don't know where to draw the line. So what's your perspective, Brooke?
And then, like I mentioned before, some people only see what's available out there. And once you have so many different tools, financing tools out there, you can actually mix and match. And we say create a deal. It could also be design a deal, design something that could fit everybody's goal, that your joint venture partner, your personal goals. And being creative doesn't mean, it's illegal or anything. Really, it's just using what tools you have, then design something out there. So even though numbers could seem, even for me, seems very rigid and doesn't seem like a lot of fun. However, I think real estate is so interesting because there's so many things out there that you can leverage real estate for.
Actually, out of curiosity, before tonight, has anybody heard of joint venture partnerships by a show of hands or emojis of some sort? Okay, that word's getting out for sure. Okay, what about promissory notes? What about vendor take back? And did you know that you can actually use registered funds as Canadians to invest in real estate deals? Not a principal residence, not the RSP home buying program, okay? But as investors. Okay, so these are all the things that fall under the creative financing umbrella as well. And what about lease options as an acquisition strategy rather than an exit strategy? What about agreement for sale? Okay, so all these fall under the umbrella of creative financing. And that's all covered in creative financing courses.
And not just as a strategy, did anybody not heard of lease option before you get into the community or start to look into real estate? Yeah, so you don't know what you don't know. So that's how it all gets started.
Yeah. Okay, well, how about the second one? This one is really popular, I think, because I think a lot of people, especially at the beginning of the journey, like they're very much like you and me, Brooke, we have some resources just because, of our jobs and, we worked really, really, really hard to put some money away, but only to catch up with inflation back then. Right now, not even the case anymore for a lot of people. So if I am new to investing and could still qualify for mortgages, I think the question sometimes is, do I need to learn creative financing at this point? I think that's a real question. Not should I, because I think everybody needs to at some point.
Yeah.
But
I get that. Even for myself, I was wondering about that as well. However, even with just mortgages or line of credit, there's so many different things you can do. And even though we could qualify, I pretty much hit the ceiling very early on. Has anybody had that experience? There you go. So that is why I think once you have the foundation, you do want to know or learn what's out there. And I think everybody could go to the bank and apply for a mortgage. However, now you're an educated and seasoned investor, or you're on the journey to be. And that's really what sets you apart from everybody that does the same thing. So if anybody can do it, then I think you hear a lot of complaint is that if anybody can do it, then everybody's fighting for the same opportunity, fighting for the same thing. So really, you're looking for something that sets you apart.
And I think, one of the things that I really learned early on from one of my mentors is that every single strategy, every single financing tool that I'm able to learn is like a new tool in my tool belt. And no different than, I don't know if anybody in this room is handy. If you are, you're already automatically handier than I am. The more tools you have, the more effective and efficient you will be at putting a project together. And so I remember one of my earlier mentors, he used to say that as an educated investor, effectively, we are what people would call transaction engineers, meaning we can solve problems like an engineer from all different angles. And most of the times, these are financial problems. And so this is why at Trust Your Talent, we always say that real estate is just an asset class that we're using all of us are learning to become investors, because learning how to invest is like learning how money works, because all of us, we only have 24 hours a day. If you say otherwise, you have access to more, I would like to talk to you. And however, the point is, we're all here because we know that there is a ceiling to our earning potential when we are just trading hours for dollars all the time. And so we're here to go further in life, and we need to learn how money can work harder for us. And so really, real estate investing is two different things put together, which is how to let your money work harder in a chosen asset class that hopefully you like. Cool. So next one is, how do I know which financing instrument to use? That's a big question, actually.
That is a big question, but I get that question a lot. And at the same time, sometimes it's just not one instrument. And sometimes you can present a deal using different instruments and then start to talk to investors and see which way that you structure the deal could actually work for both parties. So I gave you the examples earlier of some people want to be on title, some people don't like to be on title, some people are not comfortable to be on title, some people are not comfortable not having the control. So a lot of the times, another thing I would say is, if you have taken the fundamentals, for sure, if there are easier way, we start from the path of the easier path first. I wouldn't say easy, the path of least resistance first. And then at the same time, if you already reach that limit, then what are you going to do? Then you see that there are other instruments available to you. And things like, when we talk about more advanced strategies, things like private lending or RRSP, you really have to warn people about how to do it legally, or agreement for sales, for example. And in different markets or different market situation, I got a lot of students saying the market is so hot, they're not going to talk about different instruments. Then don't make things complicated for your investor or for your buyers, for your seller. Like I said, the goal is to make complicated cases or so many tools out there simple for people to get into the deals. So it really depends. And I would say sometimes even for one deal, you have so many different instruments you can use, or different ways to use the instruments. Tim?
So does everybody know what instrument, what we mean by financial instrument in this case? Yes? No?
Irene, thank you for the honesty.
Okay, so in this particular case, I think it would really help to really identify it and define it a little bit better. A mortgage is something that everybody knows. A mortgage and a mortgage document itself is the instrument. So a promissory note, by definition, is a note of usually financial or there's a monetary value that has been issued between a lender and a borrower. So it is a note. A note is an instrument. A loan agreement is an instrument. A seller financing document of any nature is an instrument. A syndication is an instrument. An option to purchase contract is an instrument in this particular case. And so going back to what Brooke was saying is that different deals may require different structures and different instruments, sometimes more than one. And again, the uneducated, most of the times, is they just do what we call buy, rent, and pray, and they will buy using a traditional mortgage, and they'll rent it out, and they pray that the property itself does not give them too much issues, too much headaches, especially when it comes to cost to repair and maintain it. And then they'll always pray that they get good tenants, fabulous tenants that will take care of the property and always pay rents on time. I mean, I don't know about you, I don't live in the perfect world, and I'm okay with that. It's just that a lot of people, that when they go into real estate investing, it's very much buy, rent, and pray. And so this is why we always say that, again, after you've gone through the financial education journey with TYT, you will learn what we mean by all investors are buyers. Okay, so like what we say, all thumbs are fingers, but not all fingers are thumbs. So all investors, yes, are buyers, but not all buyers are true investors. Learn to tell the difference will save you a lot of headache, a lot of heartache, a lot of sleepless nights, and a lot of money. Okay, so just really want to share that with everyone. And so the fact that, a couple of questions so far, does anybody but know what instruments are? And as you can see, a lot of people don't. And sometimes these are the same people, and I'm not saying it's you guys in this room because you're in a different community tonight. Sometimes these are the people that get pounced on, that get preyed on, because they will just use big words to confuse you. And we're here to make sure that everybody is educated so that they can make educated, informed decisions that protects themselves. Because I think there is also that misconduct out there and misconception for a lot of people that let's grow our money, let's scale. However, first and foremost, if you're not even protecting what you've got, what you've worked so hard for, there's no point growing, because you're not going to know how to grow without knowing how to stop losses when it counts. And so protection, and security is always the first thing when it comes to financial education. Again, just speaking from experience, because I lost all of my money and that was painful. And I hope that never happens to anyone, nor has it happened to anyone already in this room. So question 4, is private lending risky, Brooke?
I get that question a lot, whether they're investors or they just heard of it before. People are really worried about private lending being risky. So like Tim said, a lot of it is really how you learn to protect your asset and how you have the structure of your organization or the terms. So we'll go through how you structure the promissory note, for example, or how to put a lien on the property, etc. Yes, it could be if you're speculating, if you don't know how to do it. I wouldn't recommend everybody to get into private lending right away. And at the same time, look at it from the perspective as an investor too. We kept saying exit strategies. If you're putting a private lending on a particular deal, what are your exit strategies? If one thing doesn't work, what are other things you can do? That's one thing. Look at your collateral. Does it really have the value? You can do some research yourself. A lot of the times, it's due diligence. So you, as an educated investor, really you're learning about how to do the due diligence. And even when I'm lending the money out, or if I'm borrowing the money, I look at it from both sides. If I'm lending the money out, I look at, I've been a money partner. How am I, if I were that person, how am I going to get out of the deal? Pay back my investor with the profit at the same time. So look at it from both perspectives. Or once you get into the deal, by the way, if you're a seasoned investor or you're educated, if one thing doesn't work, you can pivot and know how that deal could otherwise make money at the same time. So yes, trust and verify, gather as much information, and then at the same time, verify. And if you're seasoned and educated, you know how to ask the right questions.
Absolutely. And just to tag on that, everything you said, that's the soft skill that is in my opinion, the most invaluable part of it all is, our collective experiences and learnings and lessons that have also been passed down to us, not just our own. However, again, for those of you who are intently taking notes, we always say that really when it comes to private lending, 4 different questions you need to ask. It's how much in, how much out, how long, and how is my money secured? 4 questions. How much in, how much out, how long? Based on these 3, you can calculate your return on investment. And how's my money secured? Which, in my opinion, really is one of the most important questions, if not the most important questions. If not the most important question, simply because when it comes to how is my money secure, there are 2 factors that we further break down. The first one is overall loan to value. And the second one is the position that you hold as a lender against your collateral. Again, we're using real estate today as our example. However, the same rule applies if you were investing in businesses in different asset classes. Okay.
I think, Vince, you want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to speak quickly on it too, just on that trust and verify aspect of it. Just think about it. If you're planning to give money to somebody and you're planning to loan them money, this is the importance of you being able to verify what you're loaning against. Because if you knew for a fact it's a bad deal, would you still want to loan money on it? The obvious answer is no, but that comes down to your ability and your understanding, your education to be able to figure that out. And if you don't know and you don't know any better, you're just going to give money, then might as well just give money like to somebody going to the casino to gamble with it. That's really what you're doing. And so that's why I really emphasize on that trust and verify, your ability to verify what you are investing against and how you're securing your money. That's all.
So yes, you start from, if the security doesn't seem to be sound to you, you're not even gonna get into the return on investment, et cetera, et cetera. And at the same time, I've seen people, we'll go through example in class too, who does it and maybe there is the profit there. However, are they doing it legally? And a lot of the times people scale their business really quickly. And are they here for the long haul? And all of us at Trust Your Talent, we're here for the long haul. And a lot of business fail in the first year or even the 6 months. And I've seen that in real estate too. And especially when the market is volatile, you hear a lot of things happening. And I can see why that would be happening. Big part of it is due diligence. Tim?
Yeah. And so I think, I'm noticing the time right here. I mean, it's so funny, like these webinars, they fly by so quickly. And so I think number 6 was already answered. Really, the answer is it's not that different. It really comes down to your business decision once you're familiar with how to put deals together as a borrower. And how do I protect myself as a lender? I think this is the one that I think might be really interesting. Number 5, how do I protect myself as a lender if the bank's already said no?
I think we touch upon that when we talk about the security. That's really a big part of it. And because sometimes people think that, the first time it worked, then they start to take more risks. However, really, when you're in good terms, make sure you have all the terms in there when you're in good terms. I mean, it's not always the best time to talk about a divorce when you're already separating. That's why you want to make sure the terms are sound and solid. If the bank already said no, figure out why the bank said no. If there's risk, can we mitigate the risk? Is this something that we can help? For example, credit is one of the things I've seen a lot. Us actively investing, our credit scores goes up and down. So sometimes people's credit scores are not the best. In that situation, does the property or the project make sense for you to get into the deal with that person? So again, do your due diligence. I think that's actually the most important thing. And again, do it legally. Find a good power team to help you do the due diligence.
I like what you just said, Brooke, is that nobody wants to talk about the ugly stuff in the beginning when, things are happy and you feel like you're about to get into this happy relationship with each other, especially when a large sum of money is involved. And nobody wants to talk about the ugly stuff, the what ifs. And the funny thing is that's really when you need to. And so this is actually when and why most people need mentors, because you need that driving force to help you ask the question, to push you to ask those questions and address those scenarios, even when you don't want to. And I look around the room. I mean, I don't know, because some of you I haven't met you. I haven't seen you or don't know where you're from. However, if you're in Canada, as in if you're Canadian, I do find that Canadians tend to be overly polite. And so we definitely don't want to talk about divorces when we're just about to get married financially. And so that's usually when the issues happen. And, if it weren't for my mentors in my earlier days, I know a lot of my JV, joint venture partnerships would have not worked out had I got into it. I would have much preferred losing a money partner before I even got into a deal than after. Okay, I want you guys to think about that. It's like getting into bad relationships. You'd rather have the foresight to be like, okay, nope, that's it, deal breaker, done. Then getting into it 2, 3, 4 years later, and you go, why did I do that to myself? Was I that desperate? It's funny, investing has a lot to do with dating too, I find. So anyway, any other questions? We're going to take one more, if there is one more, and then I will wrap this up and share a few more exciting things with everybody before we finish the night here. I hope you all got something out of this. There's still a little bit more here. So couple of events that are coming up, actually 3 right on this slide right here. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of events happening, and there are free events and there are also paid events for more advanced financial education workshops. So we have one happening next weekend in Toronto. As of now, we only have 8 spots left. 8 spots left in Toronto. So make sure you get yourself registered. You can register it on Eventbrite, or you can register it directly on trustyourtalent.ca. I will share with you how you can do that. And we always at TYT say that action takers get rewarded. When you are here, you get to hear about deals and special codes that you otherwise would not have gotten. And so when you land on trustyourtalent.ca, you want to go into workshop registration. And so assuming that you're able to make it next weekend, you want to secure your seats, just go to register now. 10 days and it's coming up. And write this down, and I will ask people to help me out here in the chat box. I'm just going to quickly show you, because obviously you have to fill out the other your information as well. When you are checking out, use the promo code TYTROCKS, and you will get an instant 50% off discount. I want to let you know that the workshop is 2 days long, and this price is good for 2 people. Okay, this price is good for 2 people. And so again, this is really a lot of people's starting point when it comes to getting themselves financially educated. And I want to share with you, there's another one coming up in Vancouver over the weekend of October 28th and 29th, that happens to be happening during the weekend of our annual conference, which I will share in a little bit. Now, next Saturday, we are doing what we call a TYT Connect. It's a public networking event that we have. It's happening at the Chop Steakhouse on 801 Dixon Road, and that's Saturday evening at 6:30 p.m. You do have to RSVP yourself because space is also limited. We didn't set that. This is all set by the venues that we have booked with. So make sure if you want to secure your spot, you go to Eventbrite and get yourself registered for TYT Connect. Now, what's covered in these workshops? Doesn't matter which one you go to. We have hard strategies, soft strategies, interactive breakout sessions, giving you contract templates, showing you how to use them, raising funds script, very in line with creative financing, all the course materials, scholarship opportunities, and more. And so again, all of this, as you already know, all for just $297, because we are here to spread financial education, and you already got TYT Rocks as your promo code to use when you register. Okay, so we look forward to seeing you there. But that's not it. The next thing here that we want to share with you is our annual conference and Academy Awards. This year, it's being held in downtown Vancouver on the weekend of October 27, 28, and 29th. You can also find the page on our website directly, okay? And so during the conference is 3 days in length, plus Saturday evening Academy Awards ceremony. That's got a formal banquet attached to it. We have 5 different courses that we do deep dive on. Okay, so this is not where in one weekend you're taking 5 courses. One single topic is 3 days in length. So you can see the depth that we go into as a training academy. So we have real estate investing fundamentals and distressed properties. This really looks after your acquisition and due diligence process. And if you're curious about what that is, make sure you come to the webinar coming up, as I mentioned, how to make money in any economy, because really that is the foundation strategy for everything else that you're going to be embarking on, especially if you're choosing to use real estate investing as your main vehicle to create income streams and wealth. Okay, I need to mute somebody apparently. Okay, next one is creative financing, and you just got a bit of an overview in terms of what is going to be covered during creative financing level 1 tonight. And serviced accommodation, as we mentioned, it covers short-term and mid-term rentals. Next one is infill and project management. We had the webinar recording on our YouTube channel. So I will share with you the link in the chat box for our YouTube channel as well, so that you can go back and rewatch it if you want to, and see if this is actually a strategy for yourself. Way too many people are building before they actually even know how to project manage properly, regardless if you have a reputable builder or general contractor that you can work with, okay? As investors, we're managing investment projects. And so that's one of the biggest pitfalls that amateurs fall into. Last but not least, as mentioned, US foreclosure buying as foreign investors. So once again, each course at Treasure Talent, whether it's live or online, is anywhere between 12 to 24 hours in length. So you might think that certain subjects are small subjects and topics. Why are we spending so much time? It's because we're literally giving you as much as we possibly can. We know there are a lot of training companies out there. They will fudge their spec sheets on what each course covers. We, for the last 3.5 years, have been working to shrink ours down so that it makes sense and not overwhelm everybody. The point is, you don't know what you don't know. Get yourself registered for an annual conference. And how you can do that, especially if you're kind of going, okay, hang on a second, I think I'm going to do all the webinars and I really don't know which course I should get started with. This is the next step. And before we get there, once again, when you register on our website directly, you can also use TYT Rocks as the promo code for annual conference and course registration. I will come back here and share with you exactly. We're all about the hand holding. We're going to show you how things are done so that you can do it yourself afterwards. So annual conference registration is right here on the top banner. Okay. You will see all the details. By the way, we also have a group rate. The conference is happening at the Westin Bayshore downtown. Beautiful, beautiful venue. You can go and reserve your spot. The public rate is $4,997. That's already discounted. However, again, for everyone in this room, pick the course that you want. And when you are checking out, make sure you enter the promo code, once again, TYT Rocks. Just so you know, you are either going to workshop or you're going to one of the courses, not both. Okay, I want to make that very clear. And so, again, I know to some of you, this might be overwhelming. So remember, it's all about hand holding and not one size fits all. If you're still unsure on how to approach this, I will share with you the next step. Right now, we have Vince, and is Nina still here? Not at the moment. Vince is still in the room. Vince is one of our strategy coaches. You can start, and there is no charge on your strategy coaching calls. Start the conversation. Nobody will ever twist your arm to do what you don't want to do. Financial education needs to be self-directed and needs to come from within. If you're yearning and looking to create financial success and financial security in the long term, do yourself a favor, make sure you hop on a call with a strategy coach. Then you get to decide. Make the informed decision before you kill your own dreams, okay? And again, if for nothing else, they might just be able to help you to get started, whether it's workshop or one of the courses that I just shared with you. And on that note, I know a lot of you are already following us on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, and Eventbrite. This is just another reminder. And for some of you, if in case you have not seen my Daily Dose with Tim yet, an episode that I made in season 2, you might want to write this down so you can find it. Season 2, episode 56 talks about the real estate cycle. You want to find out where the cycle is, where we are, and how you can jump in and which strategies are good for you. That's the episode. Do yourself a favor, watch that episode before you even talk to a strategy coach, so that you can have a more intelligent conversation. That's what this is all about, empowering you financially and intellectually when it comes to money. And so I know we went through everything pretty fast here. What I'm going to do here is to just bring this back so that you know, if you're kind of going, I don't know which one, then follow the steps. Step 1, schedule a call. Okay, when in doubt. So with that said, any last minute burning questions from anybody?
Hi, can
Hey.
you just repeat that episode again? Sorry, I missed it. I've been driving this whole episode and I'm trying to focus, but I
Yeah,
just missed
absolutely,
which episode that
Maggie.
was. Thank you.
Season 2, because there are 3 seasons now. Season 2, episode 56.
Episode 56. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Okay. All right. So, Wei-Di, is
There's
that
a
how you
question.
say it?
There's just a question, and yeah, okay.
Yeah. What's the difference between workshops and the workshop and the courses? Also, for a beginner and a seasoned investor, which one should we take first? And I think Vince, you already answered that. Beginners workshop for sure. The funny thing is we have seasoned and experienced investors, because workshop is the induction point and the beginning point for almost every student in Trust Your Talent. Why? We've had students that come to Trust Your Talent. When they enrolled with us, they are already at 10, 20, 30 doors under their belt. They still go through that journey simply because of the fact that we do a lot of skill set and mindset shifts, so that ultimately, even if you have 20, 30 doors, like as I mentioned in the very beginning, and I'll say it again, it's not about the door counts. I've traveled around the world teaching financial education, leveraging real estate investing. I've come across people that hold and manage thousands of doors. They ended up getting themselves another job rather than becoming financially free. And so there's a lot of people that are in that situation. They want to learn how to create better financial results with their real estate portfolio. So they would still go to workshop first and then follow the steps. However, with that said though, yes, if you're slightly more seasoned, you've got a portfolio, talk to a strategy coach to see which strategy makes sense as your next step as well. Okay, hopefully that helps. Okay. Awesome, awesome. So on that note, thank you so very much again for joining us tonight. The next webinar is happening this coming Saturday with the foreclosure queen of Florida, Miss Catherine Butler. So don't miss that one. Look forward to seeing you there. And thank you again, Brooke, for joining everybody. And we will all see you at either the workshop or at the annual conference. Have a great evening, everyone.
Good night.